All right, let's dive into a cold case that's literally thousands of years old. The subject? The Book of Deuteronomy. Now, this is a huge text for Western religion, but it's completely anonymous, and for centuries, experts have been trying to figure out just one thing. How old is it really? And you might be asking, who cares? Well, it matters a lot, because if we can figure out when it was written, it could totally change how we understand the history of ancient Israel. The question seems simple enough, but the answer is anything but.
So how in the world do you date a book with no author listed and no publication date? Well, you have to become a kind of literary detective, and in this case, the biggest clue isn't a single word or a phrase, it's the entire structure of the book itself. And that clue, believe it or not, leads us right into the world of ancient international politics.
You see, Deuteronomy isn't just a random pile of laws and stories. When you look closely, its layout is an almost perfect match for a very specific type of legal document that was all the rage back in the ancient Near East. And this discovery, this parallel, is our first major breakthrough in the case.
That legal document is called a suzerainty treaty. Think of it as a formal loyalty pact between a big, powerful king, the suzerain, and a smaller, vassal king. It was their version of a binding international agreement. It laid out the whole relationship, what the big king had done for the little king in the past, what the little king had to do in the future, and, this is key, it spelled out in pretty graphic detail what would happen if the vassal broke the deal.
But here's where it gets really interesting. These treaties weren't all the same, they actually changed a lot over time. If you look at the older ones from the Hittites in the 2nd millennium BC, they're all about relationship. They start by reminding the vassal of all the good things the great king has done for them. But then, you fast forward 1,000 years to the 1st millennium BC, and the Assyrian treaties are just different. They're all about raw power, they're shorter, they're harsher, and they focus almost entirely on the awful, terrifying curses that will rain down on you if you step out of line.
So this clear evolution in how these treaties were written, that's the key to our first big theory. A scholar named Meredith Kline looked at this and asked a really simple question. Which one does Deuteronomy look like? Does it follow the old Hittite blueprint or the newer Assyrian one?
And the answer was pretty striking. When you look at the overall vibe of Deuteronomy, that long historical intro, the focus on a relationship built on loyalty and gratitude, it is a much better fit with the older 2nd millennium Hittite model. That harsh, demanding, fear-based tone of the later Assyrian treaties, it's just not there.
And it's not just a general feeling either. When you actually break down the book, it maps onto that classic Hittite structure almost perfectly. You've got the preamble, which identifies God and Israel. Check. You've got the long historical section, reviewing their past together. Check. The list of laws, or stipulations. Check. The blessings and the curses. Check. And finally, calling on witnesses. It's all there in the right order.
For Kline, this was it. This was the smoking gun. He famously wrote, "Without any doubt, the Book of Deuteronomy belongs to the classic stage in this documentary evolution." In his mind, if the book uses a legal format that was popular in the 2nd millennium BC and then basically disappeared, then the book must have been written in the 2nd millennium BC. It's like finding a literary fingerprint that points right to the time of Moses. Case closed, right?
Well, not so fast. In biblical scholarship, a case is never really closed. Other scholars looked at the exact same evidence, that treaty structure, and came to a completely different conclusion. They argued that Deuteronomy was written much, much later.
The entire debate, and I mean all of it, really boils down to this one question. Does using an old style prove that a document is old? Or could a later author have just picked up an old format, a literary antique if you will, and used it for their own reasons hundreds of years after it went out of fashion?
The argument against Kline's early date basically breaks down into 4 main objections, so let's just take a quick walk through each one of them.
Okay, first, there's the simplest explanation, straight-up imitation. A scholar named J.A. Thompson said, look, we can't rule out the idea that a writer in, say, the 7th century BC found an old Hittite-style treaty sitting in an archive somewhere and just decided to use it as a template. It's theoretically possible.
The second argument is a bit more complex. It suggests the treaty form never actually got lost at all. Scholars like Gerhard von Rad argue that this covenant structure was kept alive for centuries, not in a dusty archive, but in Israel's living religious ceremonies and festivals. It was basically an oral tradition that was only written down in its final form way later.
The third objection gets really into the weeds of the text. A researcher named R. Frankina noticed that some of the specific curses mentioned in Deuteronomy sound a lot like the curses found in those much later 1st millennium Assyrian treaties. For him, this was the real smoking gun, pointing directly to a later date.
But Klein's supporters had an answer for that. They argued that legal language, especially for stuff like curses, was super traditional across the whole ancient Near East. So the fact that they sound similar doesn't prove Deuteronomy was written late. It could just mean that both Deuteronomy and the Assyrian treaties were pulling from the same ancient shared pool of legal traditions.
And finally, we have a fourth idea from the scholar Moshe Weinfeld. He argued that using the old Hittite form wasn't about religion. It was a very deliberate literary choice. He suggested that really sophisticated court scribes in Jerusalem around the 7th century BC probably knew about both the old and the new treaty styles. And they intentionally chose the ancient one to make their work feel more authentic, more authoritative.
So where does that leave us? Well, our big treaty clue didn't solve the mystery. If anything, it just made things more complicated. The very same piece of evidence, the book's structure, is being used to argue for completely opposite conclusions. And that's why this is still such a hot-button issue for scholars.
In the end, the whole thing really hangs on a few key questions. How important is that historical prologue, really? How likely is it that such a specific, complex literary format could be preserved perfectly for hundreds of years, either in rituals or in an archive? And what does any of this tell us about where the whole idea of a covenant with God even came from in the first place?
And that brings us right back to our central puzzle. When you look at an ancient text, is its structure a timestamp, locking it to a single moment in history? Or is it more like a family resemblance, a clear sign of the tradition it belongs to, but not its exact date of birth? That right there is the question at the very heart of the Deuteronomy dating puzzle.